I decided to just go ahead and do the whole fuel system while I'm doing this. So I removed the 2 feed lines and then cut the evap line because you don't need it to go into your motor. You can just vent atmosphere. So these are the 2 feed lines that come from the fuel tank. You just disconnect them, undo all these, and then just take it out with the bracket and then leave your brake lines, obviously. So I'm running a Radium drop-in fuel hanger. So this is the Radium fuel hanger. And basically to assemble the pumps, you have this whole setup here. And this is what it looks like completed. So essentially what you do is you throw this on here, and then you put these double collars on the second barb right there. This is with the locking collars in the second barbs, and then pull this up with the O-ring onto the top barb, and then you put this on top and smush it all together with those 3 Allens. Here are the fuel pumps assembled with the barb, or the fittings that go on the barbs. Basically, you're gonna take these 6AN orbs, or 6AN orb, and then thread them into here, just with a wrench. And then basically it comes with one of the plugs installed in the terminals. You just have to add the second one, and it tells you which one's powered and which one's ground. And you just match it up. So the reason I'm not running 2 pumps all the time, this is literally just to have a pump in as a spare in case one fails. I'm only gonna run one of my 25 amps out of the R3 to the hanger, but if a pump fails, I can just transfer the wiring over real quickly instead of taking the whole thing apart and changing the pumps. So here are the 2 pumps threaded in with the 6AN orbs. I just used adjustable crescent wrench and just threaded them in. These spin, so you can orient them, you know, to make it easier. I did this one first, and then that one seemed to work the best. So now you basically just put this plate back on after you run the wiring. After the wiring's ran and everything, you just basically line up the holes and then put the socks on. Okay, videoing, doing the Radium hanger install. So you're gonna take the rear seat out, and to do that, you just take off this 6mm bolt, and you push down, basically to get the tabs off of these 2, the seat, push down and out, and then you can see the fuel hanger top part. There's no screws or bolts or anything. It literally is just glued down, which is interesting because all the other cars that I've worked on have been screws. Anyway, so you just get a flathead, pry it up, and then unplug this, pull the grommet out, and then set it aside. And that leaves you with your fuel feed. Literally, you just slide this on, and then kind of hard to record. Get a rag just in case you have fuel, and then just slides off like that. Super easy. So once you undo the line, you can either fish it out and try and deal with it, or you can cut it like I did because I just don't give a shit. Basically, it wraps around that little piece back there, so you have to like maneuver it if you want, or you just cut it and rip it out like what I did because I'm not reusing it. And then for the ring, literally all I did was just get a flathead and hammer the other side, and then it unscrews like so, and then comes off. And then here you have your hanger, your O-ring, and this just comes up like so. And this is going to be full of fuel, so just forewarning. Ideally, you want to have a close to empty tank before you do this. So basically, you're going to fish it out. Try not to get fuel everywhere, and be careful of the fuel level sensor. It's very difficult to do with one hand, but basically you can fish out the hanger, and then you fish out the hanger, and you have the fuel level sensor that you'll have to get by hand because you're going to reuse it. It's a little float like that, like so. And then there's probably a line you have to disconnect. from the bottom that crosses over, I believe. That line right there. So you'll have to disconnect that and reconnect that to the new hanger when you put it in. Okay, so what you need to transfer to the new hanger is your fuel level sensor, as well as the line in the tank. You have to take off. Make sure to transfer this when you take it off. But basically, you have your fuel level sensor, which sits in like this. So all you do is you press this tab in and then push up, and it comes up, and then you take it out, and then you unplug it from the plug up here. And then to put it on the new one, super simple. Has a little T-slot. You line it up and then push down, and it's secured like that. And now you have your level sensor. And in this, you're going to cut these wires and put ring terminals to go there, which correspond to the fuel level sensor up there. We have the radium tank in it, so basically you connect the line and then you shimmy it angled in, and then don't forget the O-ring on the hanger, and then it just plops down like so. It seats in, and then don't forget the sealing ring around that, and then this goes on top. And you have to take the 8AN orb to 8AN line off for the seat, and then tighten this down until it gets to the point where it was, which this lock faces the front. So you may have to hammer it a little bit to tighten it. But yeah, that's it. It's very simple to install. A lot easier than a lot of other cars, because it just slides in. And then now you just wire up your fuel pumps and your fuel level sensor, which if you're using the factoring wiring, which I do not recommend if you're running big pumps, because this gauge wire is not rated for the amperage that these pumps draw. The 525, I believe, draws like almost 25 amps. So these two small wires are your fuel level sensor, so you cut them and put the ring terminals on them. And then the big wires are your OEM fuel pump wiring. So if you want to use the power as a trigger for a relay, you can. Like I said, I'm using the Haltech output for the power, and it's fused and it's controlled by the ECU. But this could also work if you have an external relay that runs the battery and then use this as a trigger. We have most of the wiring done. So basically what I did is I took this rubber boot off, I cut back the factory wiring for the fuel pump, and then I added these two leads, which are both 12 gauge, right here. These two, black and red, obviously. And these two are the fuel level sensors that are recrimped to the ring terminals. Same with the fuel pump wiring. And then I just heat shrunk it. I'm going to throw this rubber grommet back on it and run it through the top just like factory. So where I'm running my other leads for the fuel pump, ground, I'm just going to ground it off of this bolt hole right there. That way it's relatively close and clean. And then this is my lead going to go to the glove box area for the fuel pump output of the ECU. In terms of line routing, I am running a 45 degree off of the 8 and then a straight off of the 6. And that should give you enough room to basically route it down and under the car. We are running a Radium fuel filter meant for the BRZs, FRSs. And I'm running a 8 feed, 6 return up to the Radium hanger, which I'll show. I took a video of it before, but I haven't showed it with the lines on it to show you what fittings I'm using. And basically I just have these little 8AN little bridges, and then I just zip tied it to the factory locations just to keep it up. And then it's going into the Radium. You can buy just the bracket and the filter. This is the Radium filter. That fitting for the feed, and then a 90 coming off of the other side, which is going up to the, and I'll show it, it's going up to the front of the fuel rail. And then we have the ethanol sensor, which I showed a little bit of. It has a 90 swivel quick connect, which goes to a straight for the 6, and the 6 goes all the way back. Here's another shot of the top of the flex fuel sensor, which is going to the bottom of the, or the back of the rail with the fuel pressure regulator. And the other one just mimics it and goes to the front. And I'll show that on the top right now. This is what we're looking like on the top. So we have a 180 coming off of the hybrid racing fuel rail. This is all heat sleeve with DEI, fire sleeving, and then heat shrunk with the improved racing heat shrink for AN lines. We have the Radium fuel pressure regulator that mounts to the back of the regulator, or out to the fuel rail, with the 1/8 inch MPT for the fuel pressure sensor. And then this is how we're looking off of the back of it. So basically the 180 comes down, and that goes to the bottom, or to the other side of the fuel pressure, or the fuel filter, the 90. And then the bottom of the regulator goes to the top of the ethanol sensor. So super, super easy. I love the way that it came out. It looks really good. It's out the way, it's clean, and it's all accessible. And you don't have to have a remote mounted fuel pressure regulator. It just makes life way better, and it's super easy to adjust. It fits well, and it has the little barb for the boost reference. So definitely happy with how it came out.